things going on here. You know, he's got a Salumgar, which most people don't have, which, to be fair, it's a creature that really can't be killed. And, you know, he's got some other things that we're used to. Dig through ×4 of those. He's got 1 Treasure Cruiser, Crux of Fate. So, you know, he's got his Planeswalkers, 3 Ashioks, where most people have 2. He's got 1 Kiora, where most people have 2. 2 Garrux, and only 1 Ugin. But, again, Jack Fogle won the Grand Prix 2 weeks ago in Memphis with this deck. And we have seen other players have a lot of success with this deck. Of course, Gerard Fabiano is really the one that put this on the map, and now Chapin has embraced it.
And I've been, you know, paying attention to social media feeds, and Chapin has been very impressed by Gerard's run and with his deck building in general. So no surprise to see him pick this up. This is right in his wheelhouse, playing a blue control list, and a very potent deck at that.
These two guys pretty good friends, so this should be a lot of fun. As we are underway here in round number 4, just another great match to bring to you guys from Miami. Cedric Phillips, Patrick Sullivan, Nick Miller in the sideboard, along with the rest of the SCGLive crew. We're through 3 rounds. We've got 6 more to go, and this one should be a doozy. As Chapin trying to figure out what land he wants to play, it's going to be an island. Here is Satyr Wayfinder. Some argue the most powerful card in Standard. It's going to turn over 4 cards. It will find Chapin a land there, and Land of War wastes a Salty Charm, an Ashiok, and a Bioblight will go to the bin.
And Gerry has been a proponent of Whip of Erebos strategies basically since Khans Tarkir has come to the format.
Yep.
Every time we've seen him in a constructed tournament, feels like it's some sort of whip strategy.
Gerry with the planes, we'll just pass the turn back. We're going to go Chapin's way here, we believe, and we will. We'll take a draw step. It's copy Hero's Downfall. Across for 1 here in just a moment comes the Satyr Wayfinder. Thompson down to 19. Another Satyr Wayfinder here for Chapin. Take a look at the top 4. Treasure Cruise is 1. Temple of Malady is 2. Hero's Downfall is 3. Pluto Delta is 4. Temple of Malady will go to Chapin's hand. The rest will go to the graveyard. That'll be the land that Chapin opts to play. A Scry here. That'll put the top card to the bottom. We're going to head back Thompson's way. He'll take a draw step.
Chapin doing a very good job of setting up some Delve Dark Rituals down the line.
Thompson going to sacrifice his Windswept Teeth. He'll go get himself a Forest. He's got a Corsair. We'll see the top card of his deck here in just a moment, and we'll head back Chapin's way. Just a Hall of Famer, Pro Tour champion, World's runner-up against 2-time Grand Prix champion. Just your run-of-the-day match.
2-time world runner-up.
Oh, excuse me.
Yeah, 2-time.
Didn't mean to insult anybody.
Let's get the man's accomplishments straight here.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. That's why we keep you here.
I appreciate it.
Hero's Downfall to draw. Nice Gerry has Pro Tour top 8 too.
Yeah.
Throw that in there.
Not a bad round 4 feature match, you know?
Sometimes our job's easy.
I'm really excited for when Gerry's back full throttle. It's soon.
It's very soon. I'm excited too. Middle of the year.
But when it comes to building decks for PTQ level play, you know, established formats where the metagame's evolving.
PTQ's Grand Prix.
Yeah, just one of the best.
Yep. Always has been. Wouldn't be surprised to see him make a nice run in this tournament. He had 2 buys coming in. He won a grinder yesterday with what he's playing right now. And he won his first round, obviously. As this Courser of Crucifix got taken care of by Hero's Downfall. Satyr Wayfinders will come across here. We watched him in the grinder actually beat Matt Lindy. You and I watched that match.
We did. Another feature match.
Yep.
Would have been a feature match.
Absolutely.
Antonio DeRosa versus Jordan Berkowitz. We got to watch that yesterday. Another feature match.
That's
the
right.
trials were great.
They were really
We could have
good.
covered that too.
Here's a Siege Rhino. Staple of feature matches right now in Standard. That'll gain Gerry 3, drain Chapin 3. We'll head back Chapin's way.
And Chapin, arguably one of the greatest Pro Tour deck builders of all time.
Yep.
He has so many, you know, different responsibilities that he doesn't have a lot of time necessarily to be building for Grand Prix level tournaments. But between these two, you have all your bases covered. That's for sure.
3 mana. Hero's Downfall is going to clear that Siege Rhino out of the way. Chapin going to keep the pressure on. Coming across here for 2 points of damage. 17 all.
It's Soul Tide beatdown. Deck is mislabeled.
We'll
We'll get that. We'll get that fixed.
Yeah.
We'll get that fixed in a second.
Here's a Thoughtseize. Take a look. Got a Bioblight, an Ugin, a Hero's Downfall, and an Urborg there in Chapin's hand.
Pretty good news for Gerry. You know, he's not under that much pressure. He can strip the Ugin out of his hand if he wants to. And then it's a couple removal spells, one of which is not even guaranteed to work against his threats. And again, not that much pressure to play. Now, the problem is the Sultai deck has so many powerful draws, treasure cruise, the dig through times, additional planeswalkers, so you still need to apply some pressure here, but this hand is not bad news for Gerry.
Ugin's going to go to the graveyard. Here's a Courser. We'll see the top card. It's a Siege Rhino. There's a Swamp to play. Trigger the Courser up to 16. We're going to head back Chapin's way in a moment. How about another Thoughtseize first? Maybe Gerry going to take the Hero's Downfall. He will. Going to leave Chapin with the Bile Blight. Editor board.
And Rhino versus Bile Blights is not a bad place to be.
Not at all. Chapin will draw. As you mentioned, a lot of big draws in his deck. Opulent Palace, not one of them. Here come the Satyr Wayfinders. Thompson not going to block, doesn't want to lose his Courser to Bile Blight. So there is the Palace. We'll head back Gerry's way. Siege Rhino's the draw step. Take a look at the top cards of Temple of Malady. Temple's a great place to start, thanks to the Courser. He'll gain a life. Take a look at a Siege Rhino. I bet that's staying on top.
I like Siege Rhino in this spot because Gerry has 4 or more mana.
Get him a raise.
I'm just firing on all cylinders right now.
Chapin will draw. Couple of Temple of Mystery. Time to scry. So you mentioned, though, it's scary. Because with 7 mana, this deck can find Garruk Apex Predator, which Chapin has 2 copies of in his deck. His Ugin is gone now, however.
And this is part of the problem. You know, the Sultai deck is so powerful here that Gerry can't just lean on these 2 creatures to get him across the finish line, even though Crux of Fate's in the deck. You almost feel like he just has to keep casting the Siege Rhinos and hope to close the game out quickly.
Evolving Wilds will come in thanks to the Courser. An honest man's fetch land.
Honest or poor. Could be both, I suppose.
It really could. Here comes the Rhino. We think. Gerry's got to worry about a Bile Blight in hand.
I mean, in theory, the Bile Blight still pairs with the double block here.
Yes, it does. But the double block gets kind of blown up by a removal spell from Gerry's side.
Well, these Wayfinders, you know, they're not getting a lot better than this.
You're not wrong. Chapin kind of motioning at a double block here, it seems. And there is Bile Blight. Yep. Thompson's okay with that exchange. So the Rhino becomes a 1 power creature. It'll take down a Satyr Wayfinder. Now here's the replacement Rhino. So trigger. Thompson will gain some life. Chapin will lose some life.
And now the coast is clear for Courser to start attacking.
Absolutely. Time for Chapin to draw. Satyr Wayfinder is what he's found. He will be casting that. Let's turn over 4 cards. Gerruk is 1, Temple is 2, Disdainful Stroke is 3, Opulent Palace is 4. Temple's going to go to the grip very quickly. The rest will go to the graveyard. Here is the Temple. We'll take a look at the top card. It goes to the bottom rather quickly. Chapin looking for something like a Dig Through Time, like a Gerruk. A lot of high-impact draws in this deck, just hasn't found one yet.
One of the sweepers would be fine here as well.
Windswept Teeth, the draw for Thompson. Forest on top. Forest going to come into play. Trigger the Courser up to 21. Windswept Teeth on top of the deck. That'll be his draw step next turn. Time to get in the red zone. The Courser can come in now, too. That the Bile Blight's gone. Chapin going to chump block the Courser. Rhino going to come across for 4. Chapin goes down to 5.
But Chapin's going to be able to squeeze one more chump block out of this. If he just passes the turn, I would not be surprised to see Gerry just use a downfall and try to end this game before Chapin gets one more draw step.
Temple of Mystery puts the top card to the bottom. Gerry will bring the downfall forward to his hand. Chapin will pick up his lands. We're going to head to a second one. Gerry Thompson wins game number 1 here over Patrick Chapin. Abzan Reanimator up a game over Sultai Control, which means we're going to take a look at the sideboards here. And we will start with Chapin. He's got 3 Courser of Crewfix, 2 Tasker of the Golden Fang, 2 Drowning Sorrows, 2 Freakus Cures, 2 Negates, a Disdainful Stroke, a Silence of Believer, a copy of Aether Spouts, and the Big Leviathan, Pearl Lake Ancient.
So the counter spells here are definitely excellent. The 2 copies of Negate and the Disdainful Stroke. Abzan Reanimator not really flush with spells, but the spells they do have are excellent. The game just goes on for a long time. There'll be plenty of opportunities to cash in. The 1 copy of Silence the Believer is very powerful in the game that goes long, like the one we just saw. I think the Tassikers will also come in here. Not sure about Courser Crewfix. I feel like that may be more for shoring up some of the really aggressive matchups, but it's possible Chapin's just converting into more of a creature deck in these kind of matchups.
What do we see on the other side there for Gerry?
3 copies of Drowned Sorrow, 3 copies of Mastery of the Unseen, 3 copies of Read the Bones, 2 Crux of Fate, 2 Glare of Heresy, a Thoughtseize, and a Reclamation Sage. The other copy of Thoughtseize seems excellent. 3 copies of Read the Bones. I think the 3 copies of Mastery of the Unseen also good here for Gerry. It's not as good here as it would be against a blue-black control because the Sultai deck has Sultai Charm, also can play to the board a bit more effectively than blue-black can, but still seems like a good hedge against a lot of removal and sweepers on Chapin's side of the table.
Well, it is preview time as these players do shuffle up here for game number 2. Now, I didn't even mention this, but at the end of the round, we've got a brand new card to preview that people have never seen before. But
myself included.
I know, and that's exciting. But we'll talk about Slumgar Assassin here. So some people may be unfamiliar with this one. Now, this is the first time we've talked about Megamorph.
Megamorph, Mega Unmorph, Unmegamorph. I don't know what I'm going to call it yet.
2 mana, 2/1. So that's a pretty good rate. Human Assassin, those creature types have mattered in the past. Creatures with power greater than Slumgar Assassin, its power can't block it. So 3 power creature can't block it, obviously. When Slumgar Assassin is turned face up, destroy target creature with power 3 or less and opponent controls. Megamorph, 2 and a black. Megamorph here is when you pay that morph cost, it gets a +1/+1 counter, so it gets a little bit bigger.
So this is 2 reasonable deals. A lot of the Megamorphs at rare that I've seen kind of have this recipe. This card's really sweet against Courser or Crewfix when you're on the play, because you just morph this down, and if they play Courser, you untap, make a 3/2, and kill their creature. And now you have something that also is harder to block. So the card's a little bit on the clunky side. It really depends on the threats that are floating around the format, but against Courser or Crewfix, this card's pretty sweet.
Yeah, I like this card. It's a cool flavor card. It definitely interacts very well with Courser. And, you know, the fact that creatures with power greater than this thing's power can't block it. So what's up, Siege Rhino? Just going to attack right by you. Stuff like that. I think, you know, I don't know if this is going to be a card that goes into maybe the mono-black aggro decks, but I wouldn't be surprised if it does.
Again, it's the sum of the parts, right? I think that a lot of people just look at a card like this and see maybe 2 mediocre rates and dismiss the cards. But it's very flexible, very versatile, and there's certain cards this card's really, really potent against.
The challenge, I think, has always been is trying to find playable morphs in Constructed. Because I don't think it's so much about, you know, like, oh, you don't know what my creature is. Because in Constructed, there's a very small number of creatures that can really see play that have morph. But, you know, what's been the best morph creature of all time? Exalted Angel by a lot?
Well, you know, black is actually kind of getting a base of reasonable morphs, too. I mean, you have Ruthless Ripper. That card's reasonable, Constructed level card. There is the other one that name is escaping me right now. The 3/2 that unmorphs for black. Whenever your other creatures die, you draw a card.
Yes. Wow, I can't believe that name is escaping me, too. I feel bad. I know what you're talking about. Yep.
So we're already at a base of halfway reasonable morphs in a mono black deck. So
I suppose you could play the morph game. I think this is one of the better morphs that we have seen.
Yeah, I think so too. But you know, you're not gonna. It's gonna be rare that you get, you know, the morph bluff game, because there's only so many 3 mana 2/2s you can put in your deck to begin with.
It's true.
And the stars have to align pretty perfectly for these cards to show up, but.
Chapin going to very quickly take a mulligan here. Not happy with what he saw at all. Yeah, I think that Exalted Angel is probably the best morph. Probably the best one.
Yeah, I mean, for its time, it was so above the curve.
It really was.
If that was a Magic card now, it would just look like a lot of other Magic cards, but at the time, it was so much better than other creatures.
Yeah.
Grim Horror Specs.
Got it.
That's the card.
Bang.
That's the card.
I knew you'd get there.
I should know this too, because I bluff this card and limited it all the time. Just you play a morph on turn 3, turn 4, just be pre-combat, play your morph with a black up. What else could it be? Your free 2 damage. Tip for all you at home. 2 free points of damage against someone who knows what's going on in the format. They'll never block.
Well, they will now.
Well, if you do it 100% of the time, they start blocking.
They will now.
But that means the times it actually is Grim Horror Specs are just so much better.
Yeah, it's true. You get your card.
Yep.
You get to really just get it all then.
Yeah.
And see, that's what it's about.
Getting them.
You get that 2 free points of damage got you.
Because anyone can win a game, but it's very rare you get to get someone.
Yep. That's what this is all about. That's why I play Magic. I don't know about you. Chapin going to take a look at 6 cards now. Opulent Palace among the cards in his hand. Looks like it might be a 1-lander. Doesn't look great.
And a clunky 1-lander at that, too.
Tasigur, Garrick, Negate.
Now
you have to imagine he brought in his coursers, but...
Now, the other side of this is the games are really slow, and against Thoughtseize decks, it's pretty tough to mulligan. So sketchy hands like this still may be okay.
Chapin's going to keep it. Opulent Palace, pass that turn back. Gerry, Sansep Citadel, he'll pass. Chapin will draw. He'll pass. It is a 1-lander. Thompson will draw a copy of Latimer Waste. There's the Waste. Here's a Thoughtseize. Take a look. A Garrick, a Tassiger, Crux, a Disdainful Stroke, and a Gate, a Hero's Downfall.
It's a pretty rough hand here because the door is wide open for Gerry to resolve a 3-mana creature that can go unchecked if he removes the Hero's Downfall. It's possible that Disdainful Stroke is his only answer to something like Siege Rhino, so there's a lot of ways for Gerry to punch a hole in this hand, even assuming Patrick draws some lands here, which there's no guarantee of.
Decisions here for Thompson. He'll take Disdainful Stroke. Pass the turn back. Chapin will be drawing here momentarily. Doesn't look to be a land.
I think it was a Thoughtseize, though, which if you're not going to draw a land,
something castable helps. Take a look at Gerry's hand. Not the best hand we've ever seen. Reclamation Sage, Whip of Erebos, Murderous Cut, a Swamp, and a Windswept Teeth. If you're Chapin, you got to be thrilled.
Yeah, this is great news. Take Whip of Erebos, leave him with a 2-1 and a Murderous Cut. Gives you a lot of time to draw out of this. And that's part of the reason, Patrick was willing to keep this hand as risky as it is, because Gerry's deck is not equipped to put a lot of pressure on him early on. And if Chapin starts chaining together some lands, his hand becomes excellent very quickly.
Feels like Whip, maybe, the selection. So hard for Chapin to beat.
Yeah, I mean, if it gets into play, I think Chapin might be thinking, well, if I draw a second land, I have Negate and I have this covered. But
I can see an argument for Reclamation Stage here just so he doesn't start getting beaten down.
I think those beatdowns are so slow. I mean, maybe Chapin's hand is not really equipped to kill something for a very long time. I don't know, but I think Whip of Erebos just has to be the card. There's not enough pressure in Gerry's hand to make it one of the threats. If there was something like Siege Rhino there instead of Reclamation Stage, I think you would see Chapin take the Siege Rhino.
Good draw there from Thompson, a copy of Read the Bones.
Best draw.
Puts one on top, one on bottom. He'll pass the turn back over to Chapin. Chapin draws a card, Temple of Mystery, and that's what the doctor ordered. That's a land. Yes, it does enter the battlefield tapped, which is unfortunate, but it's a land that can probably find another land, and he kept on top pretty quick.
Although now it looks like Gerry's going to start chaining together Read the Bones.
Yes, sir. Use that life as a resource to find some cards. Pull ahead in this game. Take a look at a couple cards there. Will Thompson, Banishing Light and Satyr Wayfinder, I think, are the cards he's looking at right now.
When we watched Gerry play against Lindy in the Grinder yesterday, it was a slightly different matchup, but the recipe was the same. Post-board, Gerry is just trying to outstuff the opponent.
Yep.
Just have good answers for things, some good threat cards, a lot of card drawing, have his resources collide with his opponent's resources, and eventually be left with the last thing standing, whether it's Whip of Erebos, something like Tassiger. But that's the game plan he's trying to sculpt here, and Read the Bones is an integral part of it.
Gerry going to keep both those cards. Read the Bones done resolving. Windswept Teeth the land. He'll play for the turn. We're going back Chapin's way. Chapin will untap and draw. Land or Waste. Not much of a surprise that it's a land that turn since he kept with the Temple. So he's working his way out of the mana issues here. But Thompson's ahead on cards thanks to Read the Bones.
He's way ahead on cards.
There's Satyr Wayfinder. Let's take a look at the top four. A bunch of lands and a Thoughtseize. Plains, Windswept Teeth, and Land or Waste are the options Thompson has to choose from, thanks to the Wayfinder. He'll go with the basic Plains. He'll put that into play. We're going to go back Chapin's way. Chapin's draw, Ashiok. Something to cast. I've seen worse draws.
Yeah, it's a thing to do. Gerry's looked at a lot of cards, so you don't know if it's good for sure, but you got to cast something.
Let's exile 3 cards. Satyr Wayfinder, Whip of Erebos, Land or Waste. I'm sure Chapin would be thrilled if he can get that Satyr Wayfinder into play.
Oh, for sure. That's a big prize here if he can get to the next turn with Ashiok.
Thompson will draw. Courser's the draw. Thompson going to start by sacrificing a windswept heath. So Forester Plains coming here. And he will go with a forest.
There's so many little funky operations things with these graveyard as a resource deck too. Like even the timing on using something like windswept heath is very specific.
The bones will be red. 2 cards coming. There's a land. Here's Banished Land to take care of Ashiok. And now Seder Wayfinder coming across in the red zone. Chapin got to go down to 17.
A little bit of heartbreak there for Chapin.
Yep. But a land wouldn't be a bad draw. Disdainful Stroke is the draw. The thing here, if you're Chapin, you're not underneath that much pressure yet. You're just taking 1 shot a turn. Now, yes, Gerry is getting ahead on cards, but you know, Chapin draws some lands here. He can certainly still play in this game.
The consolation here on Chapin's side of the table is that Gerry's deck has no counter spells. So if he starts drawing lands, his stuff just gets to resolve.
Yep.
And he has some counter spells of his own to fend off some of Gerry's action. He still has that negate. He still has a Disdainful Stroke. So he's going to be able to buy himself some amount of time here, most likely.
Here's Courser. That's going to resolve. Temple of Malady is the top card. Temple might come into play. He's going to play another Courser first.
And Gerry trying to find threats that he can add to the table that slide under negate and Disdainful Stroke. So
important.
I think eventually he's trying to get to a stage where he can chain together 2 4-mana spells in a turn and try to overwhelm the Disdainful Stroke, but for the time being, trying to run it like this.
Chapin going to use Hero's Downfall in response to one of the Coursers. Now the Temple will come into play. That'll trigger the Courser, gain Thompson a life. Tasker is on top, and Tasker's staying on top.
Looks good. I mean,
Yeah.
this is the perfect kind of card to try to fight through a Disdainful Stroke because it's 1 mana. So you can chain it through something like Siege Rhino or what have you and try to overwhelm Chapin's mana.
Seder Wayfinder was the draw. Needs to find a land for Chapin in a big way. Opulent Palace, Silence of Believers, Dig Through Time, Swamp. And I think the tough spot here for Chapin is he's got to take the Swamp. I imagine he'd rather have the Tri-Land, but a Swamp allows him to keep up Disdainful Stroke and negate.
Yeah, his colored mana situation right now is fine.
Yep.
So he doesn't really need the mana fixer, and he needs to leave up a counterspell here. Once the shields go down on that, all hell starts breaking loose. So good for him to be able to find a Swamp in that spot.
Tasker the draw. Santham Citadel on top here for Thompson. Citadel will come in, trigger the Courser. He's up to 13. Top card, Thoughtseize.
Gerry's had a nice run here of land on top, and then for Courser, and then reveals awesome spell.
Absolutely.
That's how you want to do it. That's how you draw it up.
That's how you Courser. Here are the attacks with the Courser and a Seder Wayfinder. See if Chapin wants to trade off with the Wayfinder. Looks like he does. 2 damage will come through. What's interesting here is Thompson willing to play a spell. He knows about the negate, doesn't know about the Disdainful Stroke. But you can reduce your, you can kind of come to that. You can figure out, okay, what are the cards I need to play around this situation?
Gerry does have the easy out here because Thoughtseize is on top of his deck of just saying, well, I'll draw Thoughtseize and see what's up next turn.
Yep. Gonna go with the Reclamation Sage.
It's beatdown time.
Well, it's get underneath Disdainful Stroke time. That's what that is. Especially when your opponent takes a land that enters the battlefield untapped in the Swamp last turn. Why would he keep that? I think that's the question you can ask yourself. Because he has the opportunity to take an Opulent Palace. Chapin draw was a Pluto Delta, so that'll come in.
The problem is that Patrick has fallen behind on land drops, and by the time he caught up, Gerry has drawn so many cards off Read the Bones and Courser Crewfix is generating this huge advantage that he's now out-resourced so many different ways. Jerry's got 8 lands in play and 3 permanents to Chapin's 5 lands in play, 5 cards in hand, and Gerry with 5 cards in hand as well. So Chapin's just out-resourced in a number of ways here, and there's no guarantee he can even get to one of his big catch-up cards, something like Garrick, because he's still behind on land drops.
Now this matchup, it's one big attrition battle. And, you know, it's kind of on the person who sees more cards, I think, most of the time is going to get the job.
Yep. That's why Read the Bones, it looks like a weird sideboard card, because it's usually you see, you know, things like Glare of Heresy and Drown in Sorrow, things that are obviously gunning for particular opponents, but given the way these games line up, the fact that both of these decks are so well equipped to fend off each other's action, Read the Bones is an excellent weapon, and Gerry's copies here have left Chapin in a pretty tough spot.
Chapin going to think some things through here. Pretty tough turn. A crucial one, because he knows the Thoughtseize is coming. He's trying to figure out how he can get himself back into things here. He's going to start by playing a Tasigur. Got plenty of cards to delve away. That's not a problem. So there goes a Wayfinder, among other options. Chapin making sure that he has enough mana here to be able to use his Tasigur as well.
Well, I think that he may have, if that was the plan here, I think he may want to preemptively sacrifice the Polluted Delta, because now Gerry's in a position where he can respond to the Delta and kill the Tasigur.
Well, what I find that play interesting because maybe yes, maybe no. Because maybe Chapin's just playing this Tasigur to get out the removal spell. Like if Chapin just doesn't move, right? Because I think he'd rather have the Delta in play to keep a land in his deck to draw towards. So this might be a situation where he's like, if you make a move, I'll respond accordingly, but I'm not going to move with my Tasigur.
Sure.
I could see a world that exists where Chapin just goes, Gerry does his thing this turn, and Chapin just untaps and just says go, and doesn't even activate Tasigur.
No, that's certainly true. It's just because Gerry's removal spell is a Murderous Cut, and Chapin knows about this, it's trivial for Gerry to leave up a removal spell for the rest of the game, because it's only a single mana.
Yeah.
If it's something like you were jamming up a Downfall, that'd be one thing.
There's a negate.
Doesn't matter, because negate got used, and the Tasigur can't be activated regardless.
I like to use the negate here too, because the one card that Gerry doesn't know that Chapin has in his hand is Disdainful Stroke. He hasn't seen it. Doesn't mean he can't play around it, just hasn't seen it yet. And so Chapin, by casting that negate, is simply saying, I'm protecting my hand from whatever you cast. I don't want you to know what I have. Now here's a cut. Now we could see Chapin Disdainful Stroke this.
Yep. Seems reasonable. The Tasigur is very valuable in play for Chapin right now. As a blocker, if nothing else.
Yep. Chapin will sacrifice that Polluted Delta. Swamper and Island coming. But more than anything, this shows just how powerful of a card Tasigur is, because Chapin left himself the option of saying, okay, I can activate Tasigur. I have 4 mana available, but I'm not interested in doing that this turn. I'm going to counter your Thoughtseize with a negate. I'm going to Disdainful Stroke your Murderous Cut, and then I'll get to work with Tasigur.
Even in formats where it isn't as easy to fill up your graveyard as it is in others, the graveyard fills up a lot slower in Standard compared to Modern or Legacy. And Tasigur's still just been incredible.
Now, Thompson still has a lot of mana in play, which means that his turn is not even close to done. He's got a Tasigur in his hand. He's got a Siege Rhino in his hand. He also has Commune with the Gods. He can play that too. So that's where he's going to start. Windswept Heath, Banishing Light, Master of the Unseen Heroes, Downfall, Courser of Crucifix. There's some options. He's going to go with Banishing Light.
It's shaping up to be a pretty sweet turn.
Not bad at all. Looks like he's going to play that Banishing Light, get the Tasigur out of here. Keep pushing on through. 3 points of damage are going to come across. Kind of forgot the little interaction there with Commune and Master.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Kind of overlooked that one, actually.
Oh, there's combos for days in this deck.
Oog in the draw.
And I love Gerry not deploying anything else. Chapin's kind of floundering with these expensive cards right now. He's probably reaching a spot where he has to pull the trigger on Carcass of Fate. If he doesn't, just keep trucking along for 4. And if he does, well, you have Tasigur or Siege Rhino to fire back with.
Yep. And of course, we're getting to the point now where if he takes another hit of 3 damage, goes down to 6. We're in double Siege Rhino range then.
Mm-hmm.
Chapin will pass a turn back, not willing to cast his Crux of Fate yet.
You can see Chapin, he's in a rock and a hard place right now.
Oh, yeah. And now there's another Siege Rhino. So things just got a whole lot harder.
Combo deck. Siege Rhino and
Lance.
the requisite mana.
Yeah. Here's the attack for 3. Chapin going to go down to 6. Siege Rhino going to come down. Excuse me, Chapin going to go down to 4. It's a Reclamation Sage, not a Satyr Wayfinder. My apologies.
And with Siege Rhino on top now, if Chapin untaps and casts Crux of Fate, the other Siege Rhino finishes it up.
Absolutely. Gerry Thompson going to win this match over Patrick Chapin, 2-0. Abzan Reanimator will take care of Sultai Control. Some mana issues there for Chapin. Had some difficulties in game number 1, but excellent play on Thompson's side of things, and he is very happy with his build of Abzan Reanimator coming into this tournament.